It was during the same 1848 revolution, right? During this time, the Italian nationalists, they could understand that, and no unification is possible as long as Austria is going to be here. And if we have to chase Austria out, that can only happen with the help of a stronger army. And for that, we need to get the support of Piedmont Sardinia. Italy cannot be unified as long as there is one power center, Pope, who has territorial control in these areas. But the Pope was not allowed to fall. Some power came in support of Pope. And who was that? But 1848 revolution was a failure in Italy. Okay, failure in the sense the nationalists, Italian nationalists, were brought to their senses. You know what is their senses? They could understand republicanism cannot happen in Italy. Why? There is no republican army as such, and no unification is possible as long as Austria is going to be here. And if we have to chase Austria out, that can only happen with the help of a stronger army. And for that, we need to get the support of Piedmont Sardinia. Why would Piedmont Sardinia give their army if you are going to establish a republic? So the Italian nationalists come to their senses that any talk of Italian unification cannot be on republican lines. It can only be on the lines of a constitutional monarchy. We have to accept Piedmont Sardinia as a constitutional monarch, and it is with the head of Piedmont Sardinia any further attempts at unification is even possible. Only that can be even spoken of. Okay, and one more event I forgot to mention. It is during the same 1848 revolution, right? During this time, the Italian nationalists, they could understand that Italy cannot be unified as long as there is one power center, Pope, who has territorial control in these areas. As long as there is a Pope who wants to maintain a temporal control over territories, Italian unification is not possible. Okay, so that is why the revolutionaries, the nationalists, they even went and conquered the papal states. Okay, a pope's minister. So Pope has a government, Pope runs the papal states, he has a minister, and the minister was even murdered by the nationalists in broad daylight. But the Pope was not allowed to fall. Some power came in support of Pope. And who was that? Anybody? Can anyone just guess who could have come in the aid of Pope during all this disturbances that was happening? Yeah, that's correct. It was the French, Louis Napoleon, right? Louis Napoleon, after becoming the emperor, he is wanting to appeal to the people, and he want to appeal to the Catholics. How does he appeal? As if he is the savior of the Pope. Napoleon has a bad reputation. As if there was a time when Napoleon even imprisoned the Pope. When he was working under the Directory, Napoleon had gone to Italy. He imprisoned the Pope. But now Louis Napoleon is now giving an impression that he is the savior of the Pope himself. So Louis Napoleon, to appeal to his French electorate, Louis Napoleon sends his army to relieve the papal states, to relieve the Pope. So these are some hard lessons learned by the Italians. What are they? First, no unification is possible unless Austrians are there in the Italian soil. Second, for unification to happen, army is essential to chase out the Austrians, and that army can only come from Piedmont, Sardinia. So hence, there should not be any talk of republicanism in the future. And lastly, if France is opposed to unification, unification can never happen. France will always prevent unification from happening. These are some lessons learned by the Italian nationalists. Okay, republicanism and their dreams is all dead. And it is during this time a man makes a name for himself, Garibaldi. Okay, Garibaldi is not an orator, he's not a statesman, he is just a rustic fighter on the ground. He's an inspiring person who can inspire his followers. So he has his group of, I think, 4,000 followers who were called as red shirts, right? So Garibaldi and red shirts, they dreamt of a republic in Italy. They cannot accept any kings. They dreamt of a republic in Italy, but now that this entire attempts have failed, they escaped. They went out of Italy. Okay, they will once again return back in the 1860s when when the round of unification starts. Okay, so we are just in 1848. Okay, in 1848, all these changes have happened. All these realizations have come to the mind of the Italians about the reality of what can actually allow unification of Italy to happen. Okay, now what happens? So, on one side, Austria should be displaced. Second, France should be supportive of the Italian cause. And thirdly, integration of papal states can only happen without the resistance of France. These are the learnings. Okay. How are these learnings carried out in action in the future? In the state of Piedmont, Sardinia, there was a prime minister by the name of Count Cavour. A prime minister by the name of Count Cavour. Why did they want to unify, sir? Were they ever disintegrated? Oh, yes. They never felt Italy was not even there in their minds. They only felt, I am a Venetian, I am a Milanese, I am a Neapolitan for Naples. They never had this idea that we are all the people of the same nation. That was a thought that was there only in the minds of certain intellectuals, educated guys who have seen nationalism working in other areas. They know that nationalism is a unifying force. You need to unify to make yourself a bigger compact mass, and it's only with such bigger mass you can have all economies of strength. You can even dream of an Italian empire which can go and have colonies. For that you have to have ships. To build ships you need to have a lot of resources. And where will you have resources? Only when resources from the north, south, all of them can be channeled for the same purpose. But for that, people should think that it is all for our good, right? But they were not thinking like that. They were only thinking in terms of their narrow interests. Italy had what is called as city states since the Middle Ages. The city of Venice, city of Florence, city of Turin. Each one of them, they specialized in some craft and commodity production. Some of them were sitting on ports, right? So they never allowed this kind of a pan-Italian feeling to develop among themselves. So that is the reason the mindset was not there. So to bring in that mindset is why these revolutionaries, these nationalists, they're trying to achieve that. Okay, so the prime minister was Count Cavour, and now Count Cavour starts moving the pieces on the chessboard. He's a very sharp diplomat, just like how you will encounter a character called as Bismarck in Germany. In Prussia, similarly, for Italy, you have this a diplomat prime minister by the name of Count Cavour.